In this quantitative methodology chapter video, we're going to talk about the participants. These are the people who are going to be in your study. We need to know who participated in your quantitative methodology research, right? The who. Those are going to be your participants. In statistics, we call them subjects. And we should have a nice sample selection. There's a lot of different people in the world, so you got to explain how you selected your participants, right? Are you only looking for females, only males? Are you looking for college students? Are you looking for military people, right? Explain all the details on how somebody was qualified to take your survey. And then what kind of sampling method did you use? Hopefully you learned some of this in your research design classes. You'll remember some of these, right? Random sampling, stratified sampling, convenience sampling. Others, I remember snowball sampling. That's where you start off with just a couple of people that are easy to get to, and you tell them to find somebody else, and it works. Everybody just keeps telling everybody else. It's like a pyramid scheme, right? So the more people you tell, it just snowballs, and that's a good thing. You got to tell us, why did you pick that sampling method? Okay, be honest. A lot of times it's just easier, right? You guys are college students. You work very hard, and most of you guys got jobs and families, so you're just looking for a quick, easy, accurate way to collect information from qualified survey takers. So now let's talk about the sample size. That is the logo for G-Power, a great free program that's put out by the University of Dusseldorf in Germany. Thank you. And it will calculate your minimum sample size for the type of statistical analysis you're going to run. Now, this is kind of important. This has to be on your IRB form. You have to run the a priori power analysis, set the effect size, set the power, that kind of thing. We do have about a dozen videos on how to run the proper G-Power a priori test, depending on which test you're going to use, in the Alliant Center for Student Excellence. Just look around. There's something that says G-Power, and there's about a dozen videos in there. So remember, the capital N is everybody in all groups. That's everybody. That's all people, all subjects in your group. That's everybody. Little n is for the number of subjects in a single group, right? So remember, big N, everybody, little n, the number in a single group. And this is what the actual software program looks like. It takes practice to learn how to do it, but again, we have the videos covered, and if not, just go ahead and get a hold of me. Now we're down to the demographic information that you're going to collect. We just call them demographics, and they're important things like age. Age is usually collected, but if you don't plan on using a person's age, then you don't have to collect it. But it is easy to collect, right? You can just do it with one question. And then gender is important to most studies, not all. And please remember that there are more than two genders these days. Ethnicity is also a common demographic. But again, if you don't plan on comparing different ethnicities or different ethnic backgrounds, don't collect the information. But again, it's kind of easy to collect this stuff. And depending on what you're doing, you might want to collect other things like their income, annual income, or, social economic status, level of education, whether they're employed or not, what they do for a living, that kind of thing. If you think that might be helpful somewhere in your research project. And same for geographic information. It's a contextual thing, right? So if you're looking at geographic information and you're running correlations or regressions, and you want to see if there's a significant difference between where they live on the planet, are they rural people? Are they urban people? Just people where they live is the difference, right? So that might come into play into your research project. So contextual details. The word context means how and where something is being used, that kind of thing. So if you have any other variables that you want to investigate that you feel are going to be part of your research, then you should let us know here. So just make sure you mention the contextual variables that you believe are going to be part of your research study. And then You might want to mention any kind of important experience or background that some of your subjects have had to see if it has anything to do with the relationships or the outcomes of your research. Here you're going to tell us how you recruited your subjects and what kind of incentives you offered them. How did you recruit participants for your survey? And were they compensated or incentivized in any way? Qualtrics has a service that you pay them a lot of money and they will find you qualified people. That's kind of up in the air right now. Some teachers are okay with it, some teachers are not. So make sure that they are if you're going to go out and spend that kind of money. And in the incentivization, the incentivized part, a lot of people will give away like a $50 gift card to Amazon or something as a drawing. That's an incentive. So those are very commonly used. So what's wrong is if you offer something to somebody to take your survey, okay? Not individuals, something like that. That is a bad incentive. So the gift cards are okay, but giving something to individuals to take your survey is not okay. Now, what kind of exclusion criteria did you use, right? They had to be over 18. They have to be English speakers. If you're looking for military only, that kind of stuff. So list your exclusion criteria, right? Anything that would have had them rejected from the survey. All right, informed consent, very important. That should be the first page that your participants see when they start taking your survey, right? This is page 1. Normally, we have our students put the Alliant logo up there, and it's very legal. And make sure you do it right. Make sure everybody okays it. If they do not consent, they should be automatically kicked out. Okay, that's a no-brainer. Make sure you tell us how they got the consent form and how you double check to make sure they signed it. And that, again, that's all done in Qualtrics. If they click yes, they get to proceed. If they click no, they're kicked out. So that's how you would answer that question. Very important. You got to show us how that the data that you collect is going to be both private and anonymous. Somewhere in your informed consent form, you should have something like this, right? You're going to make sure that the readers know that any information that you collect from them will be anonymous and private, and you're going to dump it after you finish your project. That's all they got to know. It's got to be in there somewhere, okay? And then limitations. This changes from committee to committee. Some people want limitations in Chapter 4. Some people want limitations right here in the methodology. In other words, was there anything that made it hard for you or practically impossible for you to do, right? Some are like if you're using ethnicity and you can't get enough people from one ethnic group, that is a limitation. It's usually out of your control, but certain things that you're trying to find could be very difficult to find. So those are your possible limitations. Anything and everything you can think of here that you struggled with and couldn't get through. And I think we're winding down here, and so I hope it helps. MGZ out.